My name is Gilad. I'm a psychotherapist and organizational consultant from Israel. And I realize I'm standing between you and lunch. So I'll do my best to be brief and hopefully useful. Before I begin, I'd like to add in a personal note. This presentation is personally meaningful for me because about 60 years ago, my mother, Mrs. Gilad, and her close friend and colleague, David Meroz, taught here in Kenya social work in the Israel-Kenya School for Social Work in Machakos. So presenting here in a conference for social workers in Kenya is kind of closing a circle for me. Also with me here are Tami Meroz, David's daughter, and Afia Mugambo, that was one of their students. Okay, so thank you all for allowing me this personal acknowledgement. Now we can get back to work. What I would like to share is a practice-based exploration, the use of role analysis, methodology based in the world of organizational consulting, and in group therapy for men in domestic violence prevention services in Israel. We implemented this process with two groups. Okay, finally, I understand it's very clear, so apologies for that. So the question we asked ourselves is quite simple. Can a method designed to explore role, authority, conscious and unconscious dynamics in organizations help men in group therapy understand their patterns in the family and in intimate relationships? And if it can, are there any risks for the group or for the participants as individuals? Role analysis, much better. Role analysis is rooted in the system psychodynamic tradition, also known to some as Tavistock tradition. It uses projective techniques to explore the interaction between a person, the role he or she takes, and the surrounding system, while paying attention both to conscious and unconscious material. In a nutshell, you could say that role analysis suggests that the way we behave and perform in the roles we take in the present is highly influenced by earlier roles we have occupied throughout life, especially roles formed within the family of origin and early social environments, kindergarten, school, neighborhood. Many intervention groups in Israel are part of the National Welfare Framework for domestic violence prevention. Group work is one of the main intervention modalities, usually combining psychoeducational tools, cognitive behavioral tools, and a psychodynamic perspective. A bit about the intervention itself. Clear again, sorry for that. At the first meeting, each participant prepared 4 pieces of material. An intuitive drawing titled Me and My Family, a second drawing titled Me and Intimate Relationships, an episodic early childhood memory, and a current dilemma or significant life event. In the following meetings, We worked with one participant at a time. We began with free associations to the drawings, then listened to the childhood memory and the current dilemma, and only later on moved towards interpretation. And the aim was to connect the drawings, the early memory, to the present difficulty into one meaningful, hopefully a better understood picture. I will present a short clinical vignette to illustrate how role analysis actually worked in the group process. So one participant, we'll call him Ronnie, of course an alias, in his 40s, 2 kids, recently divorced. So we can see in his first drawing, me and my family, Ronnie presents the heart in the center, but the loving figures are, appear fragmented and incomplete. In the second drawing, me and intimate relationships, he drew himself alone, with no feet, one palm missing, and on the other hand, a closed fist. In his early childhood memory, at the age of 4 or 5, Ronnie describes going to play in the neighborhood with a tricycle. Older kids took the tricycle from him and beat him up. He came back home crying without the tricycle. But when he turned to his mother for comfort, she punished him for coming back without the tricycle. In his current dilemma, seemed at first to be about overload. Too many work tasks, not enough time for personal matters, and very little energy for family responsibilities. The group noticed that both the drawing and the childhood memory seemed to speak about loneliness, disappointment in figures who were supposed to love and protect him, but they also thought that the current issue was actually about the same thing, and not about time management or overload and work. The group reflected back to Ronnie that what he's actually struggling with was loneliness and depression. The feedback allowed Ronnie to be in touch with his depression in a more direct way. It also allowed the group members who deeply cared for him to offer their support. I think it's quite a powerful example of how role analysis can work in groups. The group's free associations and interpretation of the projected material revealed kind of unconscious hints that were hidden there and connected them to Ronnie's present difficulty. This helped create a more coherent and understandable picture of what he's really coping with. And the friendships and the cohesion of the group allowed Ronnie and the group contain the pain that came with this revelation. From the vignette, let's move to results and conclusions. Well, as in organizational work, we thought that role analysis could provide relatively quick access to emotionally significant material, help participants better understand their lives, and also strengthen the cohesion and the relationships in the group. At the same time, we were concerned about destabilization in the group. First of all, bringing an outside facilitator might interrupt ongoing processes in the group, and especially the possibility that the method might challenge individual or group defenses too strongly. As to our results, Contrary to our fears, both groups described the experience as positive and empowering. Participants showed different levels of exposure and engagement, and the groups were able to contain these differences without any unusual tension. One more indication of the impact of the process was that materials that came up in the process continued to resonate in the groups for about a year after the intervention. As to our conclusions and recommendations, looking back at our concerns about exposure and disruption of defenses, it seems that the setting, attentive facilitation, and the group's own capacities created sufficient containment. Second thing is that although it was a preliminary and quite a specific experience, we do think that role analysis may be useful methodology for group therapy, also with other groups coping with complex life experiences. My main recommendation is to use this methodology carefully, preferably in groups that already have some intimacy, cohesion, and the capacity of reflection, or in Beyond's terms, closer to a work group state. In such setting, structure, appropriately handled encounter with discomfort can become a source for learning and growth while mitigating the risk of destabilization. Thank you. And I'll be glad to take questions. Do I have time for questions?